The Cold War never had a final treaty declaring its end and assigning agreements between the parties, so there's no reason to believe it ended. I believe the evidence shows that Mr. Putin is still fully committed to it, and that he is winning. The reasons are not within my expertise nor research, but for now I will proceed on the assumption that the Russians, or at least Mr. Putin, are annoyed at the success of the West in bringing about the end of the Soviet Union. So from Russia's perspective, turnabout's fair play. It seems to me that the Russians, and likely others, are using anonymous misinformation and amplifying arguments on social media to increase dissension and disagreements among Western populations. Some of it is just goading on existing conflicts within and among countries. And some is providing lies to stoke the fires. This is comparable to my perception of what Voice of America was to the East back in the 1960s and 70s, but kind of in the way that the Bolshoi Ballet is comparable to a preschool dance recital at the school gym. The Russians are definitely better at both. Brexit seems like an obvious battleground and clearly a Russian victory in the ongoing Cold War. Attempts to create splits within the European Economic Community, NATO, and the United States and our neighbors and allies are all clearly in progress. The battle at this point seems to be leaning in favor of the Russians. Mr. Trump is being nasty to our friends and neighbors, which makes me believe he's in league with Mr. Putin. I can think of a few plausible explanations, but without further information, it would just be speculation. And if he is, what method remains for Americans to get the information needed to make a determination, one way or the other, given that Mr. Trump controls the FBI, CIA, and other sources of needful intelligence? He likewise has control of both houses of Congress and has filled the Supreme Court with sympathetic justices. Mr. Trump has had state governments join in, redrawing congressional districts to eliminate opposition representatives, thereby disenfranchising the voters that elected them. One of the causes of the Revolutionary War was taxation without representation. That is what redistricting accomplishes. Just because one has a majority doesn't mean you get all the votes. Many of us have sold our electoral votes out to a winner-take-all format because that makes us more relevant to the presidential candidates. That was selling our birthright for a bowl of lentil stew. That needs to be reversed because it has emboldened the majority to think they deserve all of the congressional seats as well. This leads to greater animosity within the USA, which fits in with Mr. Putin's goal of dividing us. I've seen advertisements from ICE offering $50,000 signing bonuses to law enforcement professionals to join up to fight real crime. So a larger ICE is being created at the expense of local law enforcement to serve the whims of Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump is also trying to get us accustomed to having troops sent to American cities that are not acquiescing to his political views. Using American troops against American citizens should not be a customary event. I grew up through the Cold War. I thought it ended with the dissolution of the Soviet Union. It didn't. President Reagan's call in 1987 that struck so strongly, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall," now rings with delicious irony in Moscow as Mr. Trump calls for building a wall, first between us and Mexico, and then for one between us and Canada. And he does Mr. Putin's bidding in Russia's war against Ukraine. What to do? First, strongly support our military and their allegiance to our country and the Constitution. Second, on the next election cycle, be, or vote for, a candidate who doesn't support giving Russia an uncontested win in the ongoing Cold War. As a corollary, if you are an elected official, Remember your oath to uphold the Constitution, that you are one of the checks and balances in our government, not a member of Donnie and the Doo-Wops. Third, remember to treat each other like neighbors. You don't have to agree on much with each other, but be decent to each other. You help out when there's a crisis. Americans have always been good at this. So why can we be so nasty when a problem exists that doesn't elevate to that level? Fourth, put your name on your beliefs. Otherwise, we are left with trolls shoveling fuel and manure into our discussions, and that hasn't worked out too well. Fifth, and this is mostly for law schools, start introducing moot court topics involving how to rewind all of the orders, laws, appointments, and pardons signed or issued by Mr. Trump. If Mr. Trump is found to have been a foreign agent of a foreign government, beyond the irony of his making such a hubbub about foreigners crossing the border while the foreign influence was in the White House all the time, having a bunch of lawyers available who have worked through the initial layers of the laws applicable to undoing Mr. Putin's agenda could prove to be a valuable asset. This was recorded on October 28, 2025. I am Matt Tracy of Liberty, Missouri, part of the Kansas City metropolitan area. And I think the USA is a valuable resource to the world and deserves to be saved from the dissension Mr. Trump is fomenting.